So is it right?
Haha! I think this one's recording too.
Okay, good.
So we'll have dual.
Do you want us to come check?
No, it's going.
Okay. I mean, if it's
blinks at me,
getting
it tells me that it's
Yeah.
working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as long as my voice is talking anyway. You can see like my leg, you know, that I'm here. Okay, ready, Dick?
Yeah, maybe.
I can't figure out how to mark it, so you're gonna stay small. Go ahead.
That's okay, I'm happy being small. Alright, so, anyway, in June I get to go to my school and I get to have a week of intensive training and then I'm graduated and I'm done. And then I get to start a new school.
Yay.
So, that's exciting for me. So,
What's the new school? What's after the Master Herbalist program?
just more school from
More
that school.
education.
So I'm going to go on to iridology and aromatherapy and reflexology. So I think I can do all of that within the next year. So next year maybe I'll really be done.
Cool.
We'll see. I'm kind of one of those lifelong students.
Professional student.
Yep, professional student. All right, so what I'm teaching you today is about all of the knowledge that I've learned from my class, and all of it is based off of Dr. Christopher, who's the founder of the school. And he was a guy, oh, I can show you a picture. Oh. So he was a guy who was born in 1909, and he was kind of born a very sickly person. He was born with rheumatoid arthritis, which is very painful, and he had kind of a sickly disposition. He sometimes had to walk with a cane or use a wheelchair, and he had hardening of the arteries, and he also had a nearly fatal case of the croup. And so he was just not really a healthy kid. And the doctors actually said, too bad for you, you're going to be dead before you're 30. Like there's not really any chance of you living to being an old person. And so when he was a young guy, his mom was also kind of sick. She had diabetes and dropsy, and which is kind of like edema. Is that how you say it? Anyway, so it's very swollen. And this guy came over to their house, and he was an herbalist and an iridologist, and so he helped her relieve some of her problems with herbs. And Dr. Christopher thought that was the coolest thing in the world, and so he, from that point, was like, I want to learn about naturopathy. And so he ended up going to school, and he did all of these different things, and for the rest of his life, he led a very healthy life, and it totally fixed nearly all of his problems. He didn't have hardly any problems with anything that he experienced as a child, and he ended up living until he was 73, and the reason he died is because he fell on some ice and hit his head. So he didn't even die from natural causes. It was an accident that took his life. So he was
He'd probably still be alive.
yeah, he probably would be. I wouldn't be surprised. But he spent his whole life in the natural healing world. That was like his love, and he loved helping people, and he wrote many books, and he created over 50 herbal formulas, and he also started the School of Natural Healing. And he totally perpetuated the natural healing world. And at the time when he was alive, he was one of the very few herbalists. There was like a very small handful of people who were in this field, because it was kind of right at the turn of the century when there was a lot of chemical discoveries with the medical world, and so this was kind of a different thing, and nobody really did it. So anyway, tonight I'm going to be talking about a few of the main points that he taught and that I learned at the school. So one of his main things that he was such a proponent of was whatever you put into your body makes a huge difference. And so the first thing I want to talk about is your bowel movements. So most people have improper diets, and they're eating things that are refined or dematerialized, sugars, anything that's packaged, and even dairy and meat products aren't really that great for you. So eating food that's bad for you gives you bigger problems than just gaining a little bit of extra weight. And these things can weaken your peristaltic muscles, which it can weaken it or it can quit working. And the peristaltic muscle is the muscle that helps push waste out of your bowels. And so what happens is you basically are feeding yourself to become a constipated person. And the problem with that is that over 90% of disease is attributed to constipation. And so we're really self-perpetuating our own problems of being an unhealthy society. So if you can imagine wallpaper that you put up on your wall, and then if you wanted to change the color, you could put up more wallpaper and put up more, and it would become a thicker and thicker layer eventually over time. Well, that's kind of the same thing that's happening with your bowels. And that what happens is you're eating foods that have, they're called mucus foods, and the mucus foods pretty much attach to your bowels, which causes a smaller and smaller area for the stuff to come through. And it also, oh good, it also causes. Hi Becca.
Please, sorry I'm late.
You are totally fine. Come on in.
Thanks. I'll call you when we're done.
Come on down.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Glad you made it. So we're a little bit squishy on my couch, but if you sit right here, no, I think this spot. This is a comfortable spot right here.
Right, scoot over this way.
Right here on the corner. It's kind of a there's a
Sorry.
there's a thing you can lean against, but it ends. Do you know what I mean? There you go.
This way.
Okay. Yeah. So this is Becca. Becca. Everybody you know. Well, actually, do you guys know Becca? Tammy and.
We've never officially met. Becca, hi, I'm Heather Francis.
This
I
is
mean, why the first four?
I'm Val.
I'm here.
And Jessica and Kayla and Dick, you don't know those guys, but
Okay.
that's who's here. So, good to see you. And I have a handout, but I'm not going to give it to you because you can't see it anyway, right?
That's fine.
Okay.
Maybe you'll explain it.
Oh yeah, and I'm videotaping this also because I have to turn it in as an assignment.
Okay.
So anyway, okay, so I'm trying to find where I stopped.
The mucus lining built.
Right, so it's like wallpaper on the wall, and it just builds up and keeps building up and keeps building up. So your goal should be to ultimately eat a really super healthy diet and take some herbs that helps it like jackhammer that stuff off of your bowels so that then you can have nice peristaltic muscles that help your waste exit your body and your body can be happy and healthy.
So
right?
they can be fixed.
Totally.
Okay, cool.
It totally can be fixed. Thank goodness. Otherwise, I think we'd all be in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, so you might be thinking, well, I go regularly, but do you? Here's the question.
We have to sign a box.
The question of the question of the night. Okay, so each person should be, if they're regular, they should be having 3 to 5 bowel movements a day.
Holy cow.
So if you're eating regular meals, you should be having regular bowel movements, right? So when you eat, you should go to the bathroom. And if you're having diarrhea, diarrhea is constipation also. It's kind of like the ultimate constipation because your bowel movements are so hard that the only thing that can pass is the liquid. So diarrhea is not a good thing to have either. You want to make sure that your bowel movements are the right consistency, which is basically soft, like not really formed, but not loose either, okay? So Dr. Christopher says toxic waste matter is left to stagnate in the lower bowel tract. The system becomes polluted with poisonous gases which congest and irritate the surrounding organs, causing adhesions and other ailments. Okay, so basically if your bowel movements are getting stuck or slowed down in your bowels, you're basically, it's totally messing everything up inside you. I forgot to switch this too. It says 90% of disease is caused by constipation. Okay, and most people have pounds and pounds of old, dry fecal matter stored inside their colon. And it's toxifying to the system, and it keeps new food from being assimilated. So not only is it causing your peristaltic muscle to slow down and not work very well, but it's also causing your nutrients that you're taking in from your food to not be able to go into your body the way that it's supposed to. So you're not assimilating the things that you need to get the nutrients that your body needs. Assimilating food, oh, I just kind of said that. Assimilating food basically means that you're able to take the foods into your body and put the nutrients to work. So if you can't assimilate your food, then you're not, your body, you're basically eating it and getting rid of it out the other end. It's not doing you any good.
Isn't that why a lot of people overeat? Because their body's not getting the nutrition it needs, so they keep eating and eating to try to satisfy that, and it's not happening.
It could be. That makes total sense.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. Because if you're not getting, it's like filling your bucket, right? So if you're not filling your bucket ever because it's just continuously leaving your body, then your body has that craving. Makes sense. Okay, so Sina, honey, you have to remember to be quiet. Sorry, all my kids are here.
You're doing great.
Huh?
The little piglet.
Oh, yeah.
Pig on.
Yes, there is pig out there. Brad brought it home one time.
Wait, what?
I know, it's weird. Okay, so how can we fix this problem? That's the question of the hour, right? So your diet is a huge part of this. So like I said before, anything that you take into your body directly affects everything. So the best foods that we can take into our system are whole foods. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. Those are the 5 awesome kinds of foods. Cruzy, come here. Come here. Mommy's teaching a class, so you have to stay outside, okay? Thanks, buddy. Okay, so you'll notice that my list doesn't include treats or candies or chips or even dairy or meat. And the reason why dairy and meat are not on this list is because dairy is mucus forming. It is a mucilaginous kind of food, and it mucks up your whole system. And it also has inorganic calcium that can't be assimilated into our bodies. And so instead of being assimilated, it is stored in places like your joints or maybe an old injury, and it just kind of gets stored and stored. And so that's how come you end up seeing people with bad arthritis where they have big swollen knuckles or different body parts. You can get bone spurs, kidney stones, all sorts of problems. And meat also causes constipation because it encourages putrefaction of the colon. So putrefaction is a process of decay where there's bad odors and toxic substances, and those are generated because it's decaying inside of you, basically. And one of the main causes of autointoxication, so your own self getting toxic, is putrefaction within the intestinal tract because it's not cleaning out of your system quickly enough, basically. So ideally, you should have little or no putrefaction happening within your body. So you might say, but how, well, probably none of you guys care, but my husband would say, well, how am I supposed to get big and be, like Arnold Schwarzenegger on plants and vegetables? And if you think about it, a gorilla is very similar to a human in their makeup, and they live off of fruits, and they're 2 or 3 times bigger than people. So you can do it.
I was thinking about that, like cattle. What do they eat?
Yeah.
They're not eating meat. They're just eating alfalfa and grass all day long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's actually a story about, I don't know if I should say it on video because I don't know if I'll get it exactly right, but there was a man with some sick cows, and he called Dr. Christopher in and said, help me with my sick cows. And he said, well, you should start feeding them, or maybe somebody else, I think somebody else was sick in their family. And he said, stop eating dairy. And he's like, no, I can't do that. and he's like, well, then feed yourself the alfalfa that you feed your cows. And he's like, no, that's my cow's food. And he's like, really? So you're feeding your cows better than you're feeding your own self? And he's like, oh, I see your point. Okay. So it's kind of interesting how we put our importance level, right? Okay. So Dr. Christopher called his program the mucusless diet. And this means that you're eliminating the mucus-forming foods from your diet. So following his plan not only helps you get all the minerals and nutrients that you can, but it also helps you clear out your sinuses and your bronchi and your lungs and your constipating mucus that's in the tissues all over your body. So it really gives you like a whole body tune-up. But the mucusless diet is a little bit more extreme than just the whole foods, but not much more. So here are the do's. Oh, I think I wrote this one here too. Oh, oops, there's your whole foods. That's in your booklet too. I think I pretty much duplicated my PowerPoint in your booklet so that you could take it home and have it. Okay, so here are the do's and don'ts of the mucusless diet. So for the do's, on this side, any whole, live, raw foods. Fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds, just like we already talked about, and a small amount of fresh fish or chemical-free chicken. So as you can see, this is not a vegetarian diet. It's okay to eat meat, but it just needs to be smaller amounts of meat than what we're used to eating. So typically, I mean, at least in my family, I've always cooked, like it's dinner time, I get like a pound of meat out, or whatever, for my family of 6. I kind of have younger ones, but once teenagers, I'm sure you have to cook more. But
Big boys, we just eat the same.
Really?
Little amounts. Yeah.
I would picture teenagers eating more.
Don't eat.
I waited forever for Dayton to start eating. Now he's 6'5", and so I'm like,
Oh my goodness.
and he's playing lacrosse, and he's like, I gotta bulk up. I'm like, okay. And if I do a vegetarian, I was like, where's the meat? I'm like, there's lots of protein here, buddy. You're good.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, you have to like pick it out and say these are the good things.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's okay to eat meat.